Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. For today's video we're going to be doing something I'm a little scared how this is going to turn out. So last week I was cleaning out a whole bunch of stuff in my vanity drawers, and there were a bunch of products that I either used once or twice in either a review or a tutorial or a demo or a first impressions, and I don't remember how I feel about a lot of these products, or they're things I just haven't used in so long that I'm like, are they on the chopping block or do I want to keep them? So I've put them all into one basket. I'm going to be doing a full face shop my stash of products that I have to decide whether or not I'm throwing out, because I don't remember how old most of these are or if I like them or not. So if that's something you're into, make sure to keep on watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. I do upload 3 times a week, and that is the best way to stay up to date on all the fun stuff I'm posting. So hopefully this works out and the look is not horrible, but yeah, let's jump into it. Alright, so for primer, I have the Too Faced Primed and Peachy Cooling Matte Perfecting Primer. I used to love this, and then I stopped using it for, I don't think I've used this in like months on months. I definitely do think that it smoothed nicely, and I didn't dislike the way it mattified, but if I remember correctly, I always had to pair this with a second primer to actually mattify the skin. Whereas lately I've been using my Murad Oil Control Pore Perfecting Broad Spectrum Primer, which I find just keeps me a little bit matter, and it smooths a little bit better. So it's not that this one's bad, I just think I found better. For foundation, I'm going to be using the Hourglass Seamless Liquid Vanish Foundation. I'm in the shade Vanilla. I'm going to grab that on a brush because I remember using it with a sponge and I didn't love it. And with a brush, I think I liked it a little bit more, but I honestly have not reached for this since I used it in that video or a few videos. And I remember really liking it and then just not using it ever again. So I'm going to take a little bit on my finger. And this is like 2/3 of a pump, because I do remember a little went a very long way. So I'm just going to dot that around and then blend it all in with my brush. So far, so good. I definitely see a lot of my pores really standing out on my nose, which means that the primer is not doing as much as it should. Actually, I'm not going to grab a brush. I'm going to grab a sponge. Just make sure that that is damp and not soaking wet. And I'm going to take a tiny bit more foundation for those areas where my pores are still accentuated, hoping that like pressing it in will kind of smooth that over a little bit more. So that helped a little bit. However, it is still really sinking into my pores a lot more than lately any of the products I've been using have. So I think I can already tell you that the primer is gone. I'm going to grab concealer. This is the Milani Conceal and Perfect Longwear Concealer. I used this in a first impressions video. It went on really well, and I did like it. And then I never reached for it again. And I know it was at a time where I think I was trying like 9 different concealers. So I want to make sure that I didn't like find something newer and then just forget to go back, as opposed to just finding something better. So the concealer, when I was patting it in, actually picked up a little bit of the foundation on the side of the nose. That might be why I didn't use it. I think now that it's on, this is ringing a bell. That I remember like it just took a little bit too much work to get it to look really nice. And it was around the time that they launched the new Makeup Forever concealer, the Fenty concealer, the Smashbox concealer, the Jeffree Star concealer. So of all of them, this just doesn't make the cut. I mean, the coverage isn't bad, but if I'm going to go for a drugstore concealer, I will either go for my L'Oreal Fresh Wear or my Conceal and Define from Makeup Revolution. Either of those I think is going to be better coverage and just look a whole lot nicer without bumping the foundation around. Yeah, so the foundation seems to have like lifted and bunched a little bit with that concealer. So hopefully the powder can fix it. This is the Pretty Vulgar setting powder. This came in a BoxyCharm a very long time ago, actually. And I remember using it pretty nonstop when I first got it. And then not using it ever again. So we're just gonna make sure there's no creases and just set down the face with the Pretty Vulgar powder. Believe it or not, I think the powder might have saved the day. So just to round it up for complexion so far, primer is gone. Foundation is going to live to see another day. Concealer is gone. And powder, depending on how everything blends on top, might have just gotten a second life. For contour, bronzer, blush, and highlight, I will be jumping into the Morphe 8L Lo-Fi Sculpting Palette, which is everything but blush. I got this for first impressions. I used it for a while, and then I just put it down. I guess when my Sephora collection face palette came out, I kind of jumped into that one, just because when you look at the two next to each other, they're definitely similar vibes, but I just like the tones in this one a little bit more. So we're going to see how this powder palette holds up. And then for blush, I have the Buxom Wanderlust Primer Infused Blush in Dolly. Every time I use this, I feel like I get so much blush, and like I don't dislike blush, and I like a heavier blush application, but it even took it to like another extreme for me. So we're going to start with contour, bronzer, blush, and I'm going to jump into Supernova for highlight. So for contour and bronzer, I actually really like the tones in there. I feel like the contour is nice. The bronzer is a little on the gray side, so I'm going to jump into Enemy, which is a much warmer tone. And I'm just going to place a little bit of that over the face, just to warm it up a touch, because the two tones I started with were just a little bit too gray. Yeah, that's much better. And then, like I said, because this blush always goes overboard, I feel like it's going to end up working out because the blush will be too blushy, which will add way too much warmth. I am actually going to also take Debutante, and I'm going to contour the sides of the nose. All right. I actually really like the way those powders worked. I am going to highlight before I blush. So I'm going to take Supernova. I am vaguely remembering that when I used to use this palette, I used to have to really build up the highlight, and it got a lot of powdery kick up. Yeah, that's a thing. So the powder is super soft. It is definitely pretty, but you definitely have to build it up to get to the point where you are really showing on the skin, because the highlight is not quite as intense as a lot of the other ones that I tend to like, but clearly you can see it will get there. And for blush, this is like, it's definitely a powder, but it almost feels like it could be a cream. It's like a weird hybrid blush. So I'm going to take my blush brush, and I'm going to like press in and tap it off like 10 times, and then pat it on. So every time I use this, I'm definitely less dramatic than that. Like, I'll tap it in, whatever, but this is the first time I think I've ever liked the way this blush looked, and because all I did was press and tap a bunch. Yeah, this is definitely the nicest this blush has ever been, because it always gets super overpowering. You know what? It almost reminds me of the Note blush that I used to love. It came in a BoxyCharm almost 2 years ago at this point, and where is it? This one. And I had to do the exact same thing, where I had to like barely touch it in, tap the hell out of my brush, and then go in. But I think that this tone is definitely definitely a little nicer than I usually have found it to be. I think both the palette and the blush are going to live to see another day. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of the Sephora Collection Beauty Amplifier Setting Spray. I used this for a full face of Sephora Collection, and then it went into my drawer, and then I never used it again. So we're going to give it a second chance today. It's a setting spray. I like it. It definitely doesn't feel heavy on the skin, and my skin doesn't feel sticky. So I think we're ready to jump into everything else. So for brow, this also came in a BoxyCharm. It's the Brow Gal Tinted Brow Gel. I remember liking this product and then going back to every other brow gel that I use. So we're just going to lightly comb this through the brow. That was super easy. I think I really like that. I'm very glad we're doing this video because I'm remembering products that I really did like that I haven't given a real good shot to. And the next product is actually one that I know I love. I just haven't used it in over a year. It is my Morphe Dare to Create 39A palette. This was from the original launch of the massive pans. This was the first time they did it. Holiday 2 years ago. So I've had this palette for a very long time. And I'm going to be diving into this. This is not going to be a tutorial. It's just going to kind of be a gloss over, quick kind of look. But I'm going to be doing something a little olivey because I'm really, I love these, you can't even see, these green tones down here. So I'm going to fast forward through a quick green, olivey, smoky thing. And yeah, that'll be that. To prime my eyes, I'm going to take a little bit of the Sephora Make No Mistake Concealer. This was something I picked up as a dupe for the P. Louise base. And I like setting down my eyeshadow primer. I don't love using a tacky base like this. But I remember really liking the way that this kind of stuck to shadow. So we're going to give it a second chance today. And now that the eyes are pretty much done, I'm going to grab that same shade we used to highlight the cheek, Supernova, and I'm going to highlight the inner corner. I'm going to take Stardust, the white highlight shade, layer that on top, and hope that that does a little bit more. A little. Alright, I'm going to quickly curl my lashes, and then we'll jump into mascara. For mascara, we're going to be using the Milk Makeup Kush Mascara. I honestly cannot tell you what I think about this mascara. I remember I didn't hate it, but I don't remember loving it, and I cannot tell you why. So we're going to give it one last chance today to see if it's going in the trash or not. I think that's very pretty. I remember. Okay, so I got this in a mini version for 100 points at Sephora, and I really liked it. And then I got the big one with the primer, and I've only ever used it with the primer, and I always thought that it was just okay. And now that I'm using it on its own, I think I like it more without the primer than I do with the primer. And lastly, we're going to jump into lip. So this is less about the formula and more about the color. This is the shade Milk and Cookies from the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte Lipsticks. It is a very brown nude, a color that in theory would be very flattering with this eye look. But every time I go to use this, I find that it just looks the weirdest light purple on me. So we're going to give this color one last chance because I don't think that it's a matching with the eye look issue. I think it's just my complexion doesn't like this lip color. So I was about to clean up the lip line, and honestly, I'm not even going to waste my time. This is going right in the garbage. Do I not look sick? It is such a weird gray purple that I got this thinking it was going to be a really pretty color. And it's been sitting in my collection for months and months and months, and I don't like it at all. So the lip is gone. Final thoughts, just to round everything up. I need to change this lip. I'll be right back with a nude lip on that doesn't make me look sick. All right, much better. So I threw on Daddy from Jeffree Star and MannyMua. I never wear this color because, again, I don't wear browns, but I'm going to just show you a quick side-by-side swatch as to the main difference between these colors and why I really like one and I really don't like the other. So when you put them next to each other, you can clearly see that Daddy is more of a warm brown, whereas the L'Oreal Infallible, which is right next to it, it almost goes purple, which makes me look sick. Whereas, like, don't get me wrong, this is definitely like a brown lipstick where it's not quite as vibrant as a red or a true nude might be, but I definitely like it so much more than this one. So that being said, the items we are getting rid of today, because they just do not work, are going to be the Too Faced Primer. My pores are still looking huge, and I'm not about it. The L'Oreal lipstick that was honestly real bad. And the Milani Concealer, which caused my foundation to budge and move and kind of creep around. So I am just going to, while I have you guys here, I'm just going to grab a gloss. This is the Hon Skincare Lip Gloss. And I'm going to take a little bit of this over the top just to warm this up a bit. And see how adding that little bit of, like, warmth and, pink just kind of makes everything look a whole lot better. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.